Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's licensing review. It's Tuesday, the 4th of May, 2021. Before we go through the agenda formally, I'll just do some introductions first. So joining me today from my council colleagues are Councillor Allen and Councillor Morris. So it'll be us three that will be making a decision on this with the support of legal services. And also from the local authority, we have Mrs. Ridge from Committee Admin. We have Mr. Hope and Miss Bridge from Legal Services. And we have John McMurray from Albert Halls, who's sending this live, who's transmitting this for us as we speak. From the licensing team, we have Mrs. Klein, and we also have Miss Timms with us as well. The police, who are the applicants for this review, are represented by PC Ben Brookfield, and the licensee holder is being represented today by the business owner, who is Mr. Shak Shah. Those are the people that are with us today. We'll go on to declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest from any councillors?
No.
No, Chair.
Thank you for that. So before we progress with the actual application, I'll just briefly go through the procedure of the meeting so everyone's aware, everyone's comfortable with what's going on. It's going to be a discussion-led sort of meeting led by myself. And so first of all, we'll have we've all received the bundle from licensing. So we'll ask Mrs. Klein if there's anything else that she needs to add to that. Then we'll move on to the applicant, PC Ben Brookfield, who will outline what the reasons for his application and give his sort of his side, and then we'll have an opportunity. We'll all have an opportunity to ask him questions. Following that, it's over to Mr. Shah, who's the owner of the business, and you'll have an opportunity to put your case forward. Once you've done that, you will we'll have an opportunity to ask you questions, and following that, there'll be a summary from all three parties, the licensing team, the police, and the business owner. And having listened to the summaries, we will retire to make a decision. So like I said, it's Councillor Allen, Councillor Morris and myself that are making that decision today. Once we've made a decision, the town hall will be in touch with the business owner with the decision within the next 5 working days. So that's the procedure of the meeting. Mr. Shah, are you clear about that?
Yes, I am.
Any questions about the procedure?
No, everything's fine at the moment.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So we'll move over now to the application that's being reviewed today. It's Hot Chilli. That's the business. And so we've received the bundle, Mrs. Klein. Is there anything you'd like to add to that in addition?
No, thank you, Chair. You've had all of the information.
Right. Do we have any questions for Mrs. Klein from councillors? No, that's fine.
No.
Thank you. Right, that's great. So it's over to PC Brookfield now from the police, who's the applicant for this review. Would you like to put your case forward, please, sir?
Yes, thanks, Chair. Morning, all. Yeah, I'd just like to start by just stating, obviously, this incident occurred on the Sunday, the 21st of February 2021, when the police have attended the Hot Chilli restaurant at approximately 3 o'clock in the afternoon. At this particular time, the country was obviously under what is known as national lockdown. This come into force on the 6th of January 2021, and a number of restrictions were placed on various businesses across the country, obviously affecting the hospitality industry, including restaurants, pubs, bars and cafes. and they're obviously putting national lockdown. The only exemptions being allowed for food and drinks on a takeaway basis between 5 AM and 11 PM, and that was the only occasions customers could be seen attending at premises across the country. So yeah, the premises at Hot Chilli at this time was in breach of these regulations. As I state, on Sunday the 21st of February, the police have attended reports at the restaurant on Blackburn Road in Edgerton, and on attendance they found a party which turns out to be a wedding party, was ongoing with over 50 persons in attendance inside the restaurant, clearly waiting for a sit-down, organised meal. And obviously at that time the restaurant weren't promoting the licensing objectives. The reason for my review, obviously they were breaching the current health protection regulations and obviously not promoting the following licensing objectives. The first one being public safety. Obviously considered that this gathering would cause immediate harm resulting from the activities that were being carried out at the premises. It's unarguable in my opinion that the immediate contraction of a potential fatal illness is an immediate harm, so certainly public safety was one of the objectives. The next one would be public nuisance. The restaurant being open at the time, trading and clearly holding an organised event increased the risk of spreading infections across the community. Obviously, the number of people who were in the premises at the time is clearly a public nuisance at the current national lockdown what was in place. And then just the final one was also crime and disorder. Pretty much linking in with the other ones, you know, the potential from having such a pre-arranged event, formally organised, a mixture of both adults and children, and a number of staff all on the premises at the time of the police attending. It was clearly a breach of the health protection regulations, and obviously why we've had to submit the review against the premises. So that's it for myself, Chair.
Thank you, PC Brookfield. Do we have any questions from councillors for PC Brookfield?
Yeah.
Councillor Morris?
Yeah, you seem to give out a lot of fines. Did you give out the main fine as well, and how much did it all come to? Any ideas?
In relation to the fines, there were 37 fixed penalty notices issued out at the time of the police attending. What we were able to clarify were the organisers of the event, who would have been liable for quite a substantial fine, up to £10,000, which obviously would have been the organisers of the wedding. That wasn't established, and I don't think Mr. Shah, I think obviously on the body-worn footage, Mr. Shah is questioned by the sergeant at the time, Sergeant Hopwood, and those details of the organiser wasn't divulged and was ultimately not traced by ourselves.
And was it £200? There was 37 fines each.
Yeah, the 37 adult fines issued out would have all been £200 fines issued us, sir.
Thank you.
Councillor Allen?
Thanks, Chair. I've got a couple of questions, PC Brookfield. First of all, I wonder if you can just clarify what the regulations were at the time. My understanding at that time is that weddings were only permitted under exceptional circumstances, and that if a wedding did take place, the numbers were restricted to 6, and any reception should be outdoors with 6 people. So that's one question, if you can just clarify that. And the other one relates to the numbers. There was 65 people there, including children, I think. And I think if I've read the report right, there were 52 adults, but there's only 37 fixed penalty notices. Can you explain the difference? Why was there not 52 fixed penalty notices? Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, just to clarify, the first question is indoor events of that nature were completely against national lockdown. Obviously, hospitality venues had to close, whether it was a restaurant, pub, bar, cafe, social club, during that national lockdown. Obviously, that's the under the health protection regulations. So no event indoors should have been held of that form, and obviously one of such substantial numbers were, it's 52 adults and children present. So that is obviously a complete breach of the health protection regulations. Just to clarify the details around the numbers of fixed penalties issued, obviously going to be 18 over for a fixed penalty to be issued. So taking in consideration there were a mixture of 52 adults and children present. So 37 tickets would have been issued to adults only at the venue. Does that make sense, sir?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks. I've misread the numbers. I thought it was 65 guests, but that includes the staff, presumably.
Yeah, the 52 were guests, a mixture of adults and children. Right. The total number 65 was what had included staff on the day.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, PC Brookfield, I've got a question for you as well. You said that you weren't able to establish who the organizer was for the event. Surely you would have been able to establish who the bride and groom were, and obviously if it's their wedding, they're sort of responsible for that event. Could you comment on that, please?
The only comment, Chair, I can say, and obviously I wasn't in attendance myself, need to make that clear, I wasn't attending at all with that a group of police officers, so it's slightly difficult for myself. But on speaking to the officers, they couldn't establish who the bride and groom were, whether they'd already left the site, had not arrived at the site yet. I do not know, to be honest with you. That's all I can say on that matter.
Okay, thank you for that. Do we have any questions for the police from any other parties? Mr. Shah, would you like to ask the police any questions?
Not at the moment, no. Thank you.
Okay, well, this is your only opportunity to ask them if you do want to ask the police any questions.
No, I have no question for them.
Okay, okay, that's fine. That's fine. So we'll move on to yourself now, Mr. Shah. Now, this is your opportunity to give your side of events, side of the story, and then we'll all have an opportunity to ask you questions after that. So it's over to you now, Mr. Shah.
First of all, obviously, there's a contradiction of number of staff I had at the premises to what the police have reported. I have never employed more than 7-8 staff at any given point, pre-lockdown or during lockdown. So where they got 13 staff, I have no idea, because I had none in attendance on that day. In regards to the event, I had appointed a manager end of last year, 2020. The reason of appointing them is due to everything that's happened. My depression got really bad, which required me to take a step back. I appointed a manager. Mr. Allen went abroad, so he wasn't there at that time of the incident that happened. So, and I wasn't told until the night before that the event is taking place. And I was told it's a small party, and but I was concerned regarding the safety of everyone when my business is trading on normal hours. Hence why I had all my staff in, because since it's something that's been planned, I was at a point of not being able to do anything else other than to make sure the whole place is sanitized before it's open for public. That was the whole point of me having my staff there in full force. I did have one of my staff reported to the police because what I was told was not what I saw on the day at the time, and I wasn't happy about it. And I told them, like, I'm shutting it down. But I was pleaded by the manager I had at that premise at that time, not to do anything drastic. And so I was left to be able to do nothing else. So, and two of the things I knew was going to take a hit on is my business reputation, also my reputation in my local community. And trying to balance everything, it was very difficult for myself because it was a situation I got put into by someone I trusted to have best interest of my business and not put anyone in harm's way. And any local community that have known me for the last number of years that I've been trading at that place will tell you that I have always supported the community and I would never try putting them at risk. And on top of it, obviously, we've been restricted a lot more than any other businesses that have been trading, which is in the hospitality sector, one of which we were forced to take all customer details for takeaways. No other businesses in the area was told to do that, so we had to take their details. We have posters up for track and trace, so did everyone else, but we were told we have to have a record of it back in December by the police. On top of it, the government pushed a legislation through saying the takeaways can sell, restaurants, anyone that sells alcohol can sell it on takeaway basis. The police told us that we are not allowed to do that, even though there was a legislation in place by the government saying that yes, they have temporarily we are allowed, but we were told we're not allowed to do that, and that's breach of our license. So we accepted it. We did nothing then. Regarding that, we didn't sell anything. So we've had the police tell us something which is going against the government legislation, but now obviously they're following the legislation. So I've got the police telling me two things at two times. In December, they said I can't do something, even though the legislation was there to say I can. We never argued. Now, I take full responsibility for what my staff done, and this shouldn't have happened, but they're pushing me and reviewing my license through a legislation the government push. But they can't make their mind up to follow legislation at all times. They're following it when they deem they want to follow it and when they don't want to follow it. And obviously, I have no excuse regarding this event, but I still feel like that I'm being targeted by the police when they're changing their minds at two different times, telling me different things about legislation that are there. And we know we've made a mistake, and we are fully aware, and we're willing to take the consequences and pay for our mistakes. But I believe that police should be following the legislation at all times, not deciding which legislation they want to follow at which point.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
That's basically, obviously, as I said, we've done something which was against the government legislation and public safety, and we know that there is consequence for it, and we will pay that. And obviously, we've had the public with the mixed opinions, and it was warranted because of what we've done, and I totally understand that. So that's not a problem. But yeah, that's everything from us.
Okay, I'll start off with a couple of questions, and then I'll hand over to my colleagues. I'm sure they've got some questions for you as well.
I understand.
Mr. Shah, how many people were you expecting at that event? You knew there was an event that day. When you turned up, you weren't happy because there were so many people, but how many people were you expecting?
They told me it's going to be 6 at the time, because they had my manager told me it's going to be 6 people because they just wanted to have a small gathering, and they lied to me in regards to telling me it's a birthday party. and it was because the people that organized with my manager said to him that they've got a person that's in hospital with the COVID symptoms. Unfortunately, that person did pass away a week later, from what I've been told, and that's basically it. But my point was, because I made it clear, I don't need anything to make profit on it. As long as they cover the cost of the staff I have to have in there and the sanitizing equipment that I need to sanitize the whole place, there's nothing else I can do. I obviously, because they've already made the decision to go forward and told me last minute. But when I started seeing cars after cars pulling up, just wasn't happy about it, and obviously I just wanted to shut it down.
Is your manager still working for you?
No, I've had to relieve all the whole management team of the employment with my company after the incident.
Right, just one more question from myself. In fact, I've got two more questions. So you said you were expecting 6 people, but were you not aware of the fact that you still can't have 6 people in an indoor reception? You can only have an outdoor reception for up to 6 people.
Chair, at the time, 6 people were permitted at premises for the purpose of a wedding, provided that there were certain precautions in place, risk assessment and compliance with the government guidelines.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Morris, I'll hand over to you now.
I think the questions you've asked us, it was a function. Somebody must have booked it. Was it the manager that booked it then?
It was the manager. That's why I couldn't give the full information to the police at the time of the attendance. The only reason I turned up is because I had to make sure my staff sanitized the whole place after the small gathering that they promised me. So I was only there to make sure that my premises is sanitized down. But it was manager herself that booked it for that event on the day, yes.
And did you tell the police it was the manager that booked it? Did you give him his name and address?
I did tell the police, and she was in attendance, but she was at that time, obviously she has left already as well. The bride and groom, obviously, eventually I did find out that it was a wedding. The bride and groom was, as soon as the police turned up, realize you can't see on the footage, but the downstairs area, there is a exit area for us to have our disabled access that we have. And whilst I was dealing with everything and giving the information to police, they disappeared through the back, which I did tell the police at the time. But no, I never provided the details to the police at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
Yes, please, Chair.
Yeah, Councillor Allen.
Thanks, Chair. I've got 2 or 3 questions, I think, Mr. Shah. Following on from what Councillor Morris has just asked you about the booking, I wonder if you can tell us when was the booking taken?
I'm unaware of that, Councillor. Like I said earlier, I was only made aware the night before the event was taking place, because as I said, I've had to take leave after I appointed a manager there due to personal circumstances, one of which was the fact that my depression got really bad, and a few other personal matters made me take a step back from my own business, and hence why I appointed a manager for the place. And obviously I had Mr. Alam there at that time, but he left sometime mid to early February to go Bangladesh because of his own personal reasons. So I had a different manager on. and she was employed from us from October of 2020 onwards. So it was herself that booked it, and from what I found out so far, I believe it was her own family members or a friend.
Right. Did I hear that correctly? Did you say that the bride and groom were family members of the manager at the time? Is that what you said?
Yeah, so I was told it's either a friend or a family member. It was never made clear to me because my manager, she never came to work since the day of the event. Obviously, because they had a death in the family, her parents were ill, so and obviously I've had to make the difficult decision to relieve all the management team that were aware at that time of the position.
Okay, just moving on a little now. Whose responsibility is it to make sure that your staff, including managers, are aware of the regulations around COVID?
That's myself.
Right. Okay. So it's your responsibility to make sure that the staff are aware of the regulations. Do you think that they were aware of the regulations?
I personally didn't update them as I told the police at the time, obviously, because the regulations are being changed so often. I've neglected my duties in regards to keeping up to date at that time due to, as I said, my personal circumstances. And obviously, when I did hire the management team, I presume that they will be aware and won't neglect on their duties which I given them. And I believe we all failed to do that at that time.
Okay. Right. I think that's it. Thanks, Mr. Shah. Thanks, Chair.
Mr. Shah, during your sort of presentation to us, you said that you knew you were going to have to pay for it. What did you mean by that? What do you intend? What did you intend by that? How do you think you're going to pay for it? Could you explain that, please?
Obviously, I've been in business for years and I know everything. If something that we've done which wasn't allowed and there's consequences, and we're aware that there will. We've realized that we've paid for it in regards that we've had a lot of our customers boycott us, and we've had abuse thrown towards us through social media, and obviously the whatever we were aware that our license are being reviewed, and in regards to the decision is made, obviously that's basically what we would be paying for because of something that we shouldn't have done, but we did. And we obviously it's a personal belief alongside of traditional background belief that I have, that when you do something wrong, you will have consequence regarding it, and whatever the consequence is what you have to pay for in regards to that. Obviously, the police did inform me that I can be fined up to £10,000 unless the organizer had been found and they've been issued a fine, which didn't happen. So at that time, and I've been trying my best to get the information on the bride and groom, which I was given information about them, but obviously I've met the bride and groom on the day, and the information I was given was false, and I was not going to get myself in a position where I'm allowing them to commit some crime which is going to come back on me. and I never forwarded that details or to the police. But yeah, so at that time the police made me aware that there's a chance that I would be, because they issued me a fixed penalty notice of £200 at that time, but it can go up to £10,000 fine in monetary payment. That's what they said I should be expecting. And in regards to the license, obviously we are aware it can go in any direction after the review, once the review is being done.
So can you just confirm how much you've paid? Did you receive the £10,000 fixed penalty?
No, we haven't received anything from it. I do presume that once our hearing's done, then I might probably receive a letter. I haven't received any correspondence from the police at all regarding the paying the fine.
So all you've received so far is a £200 fine?
No. Well, I was told on the day when they took my details, but I haven't received any correspondence to say what fine I have to pay.
Right, so you've not even received a fixed penalty of £200 yet?
No, I haven't.
Right, okay. Any further questions from councillors before we move on to any other parties?
Chair, I think the solicitor wants to come in and ask a question.
Yes, yeah. I just wanted to confirm that councillors are finished with their questions.
Yeah, finished, Chair.
Okay. Yeah, so I think it's Mr. Hope that would like to ask a question from Legal Services.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just to make sure that I haven't misadvised you, I wonder whether Mr. Shah could clarify whether this was a wedding ceremony at the venue or a wedding reception, as of course the situation is different for both.
I believe it was a wedding reception, but as I said, I was only told the night before. I was given false information on the day when it did obviously gathering up, and I believe it was the wedding reception. Because I myself only got married a few years ago, our wedding size runs up to minimum at 150 upwards. So considering what they said and what they did, I believe it was a wedding reception.
Thank you very much. In that case, Chair, that would not have been permitted at all under the guidance of the premises. A wedding ceremony would have been permitted at premises with up to 6 people. Wedding receptions were not permitted by law at the time.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions from anyone? Does PC Brookfield have any questions for Mr. Shah?
Just to clarify, Chair, one question around obviously the event organizer, we assuming to be the bride and groom. Did we get any details whatsoever what could have potentially assisted us earlier on, or is it still either false details given with nothing to go on, to be honest, by the sounds of it?
The information obviously the officers took on the day was everything that was there on the time, and obviously I couldn't give any contact details as the booking never came through me, and I couldn't forward anything on. As I said, the management team have been relieved of the position. The manager herself has not been at the premises since the day of the event, and I wasn't given any other information other than the fact that what they provided me. And as I met them in person on that day, I knew it was false information because the pictures did not match to what they looked like on the day. And I wasn't about to commit a crime myself for them to get out of something which we all got wrong at.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Right, just final opportunity to ask any questions before we move to summaries. Okay, so we'll move over to the summary stage now. We've had sort of all parties have gone into good detail in putting their cases forward. So at the summary stage, could you just briefly explain and summarize the situation, and then we'll retire to make a decision. So it's over to Mrs. Klein first.
Thank you, Chair. I have nothing further to add other than to draw members' attention to page 9 of the report, which outlines the determination for you today. Thank you.
Thank you for that. PC Brookfield, it's over to you to summarise now.
The only thing I would add, Chair, is obviously we've viewed the body-worn footage earlier on. It was a clear breach of the health protection regulations which were enforced at the time, and I think, as Mr. Shah has already explained, it's something he shouldn't have done, and obviously it wasn't promoting the licensing objectives at a difficult time under the pandemic. So that's it for myself.
Thank you for that. Mr. Shah, over to you to summarise now.
Obviously, I've told you to all the members that it is something that we're at fault for. I'm not going to deny it. We've done really bad. Should have taken better precaution in regards of not doing the event at all whatsoever. I should have stopped it. And as I appointed every member of my staff at the premises for employment, I feel I'm responsible for regards to what happened, and whatever the board, this committee decides, I believe I will take the punishment. And just like to say that please do consider that we are trying to make the business survive as much as we can, and that's basically all we have at the moment.
Thank you for that. So we've gone through the main agenda of the meeting. We'll move over to part B now, where we'll retire to make a decision. So it'll just be myself, my two fellow councillors, and the legal team that'll be with us to support us in making a decision. So thank you everyone who's attended today's meeting. And as I said, the applicant and the licensee holder will be notified of our decision within the next 5 working days. So thank you for attending the meeting, and can we switch off the live transmission, please? Thank you.